right, how to combat extremism. That's the topic of tonight's Dialogue and Friendship Dinner and Awards ceremony. It's the annual banquet for the Dialogue Institute. The keynote speaker will be Reverend Dirk Ficke, who will present the antidote to extremism. He'll also speak tomorrow at EPCC. And joining us now is Reverend Ficke, as well as Sabri with the Dialogue Institute. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So how do you combat extremism? I mean, you know, your average American isn't a dignitary or a statesman. So in our daily lives, how do we combat extremism?
Well, I think we have to recognize in many ways we have little control over extremism. There's always going to be extreme views at the margins of society. And I think sometimes we become infatuated with extremists. I'm as concerned about the violence extremists sometimes do. It's their way or the highway, and in order to impose their will, they're often willing to do terrible things. But just as crucial is, what impact does it have on the broader society? Often it's extremist views that end up pitting people in the broader society who would otherwise be getting along. So one of the big things that we do have control over is we can say that extremists, let's not let them bring the worst out in us. Instead, let's bring the best out in us and make sure that they don't further divide the society.
There's been several top lawmakers who say that the biggest threat facing the world is extremist in the form of the ISIS group. How does the world combat such an extreme ideology?
Well, first of all, I wish we could start 15 years ago with some of the decisions that were made that created a political vacuum in that region of the world. And now that vacuum has been filled by a murderous, marauding band that's called ISIS. I think in this country, we can make sure that we distinguish between terrorists who use Islam in a false way, and the Muslim family that has moved in down the street. I'm very worried that because of what's happening across the world by a small group of people that's captivated the world, it's poisoning the well here in the United States in terms of the relationship of the mainstream to the Muslim community. The Muslim family down the street that goes to Jummah prayers on Friday, the Muslim parents who are teaching their children not to hate and fear, but to live morally disciplined lives. We have to make that distinction so that the negative impact over there in the Middle East doesn't also have a negative impact here.
And, you know, I think it's safe to say that since 9/11, anti-Muslim sentiment has been significantly increasing every year in the U.S. Sabri, why did you choose this topic for the annual banquet?
Actually, it is a need to teach this kind of important topics to our people. It is easy to destroy. It is hard to build. And extremism or extremes, basically they destroy. ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, they are shame of Islam. We condemn what they are doing. We need to build. For this, we would like to do dialogue. In our banquets, in our programs, we get together, sit together, eat together, become friends, know each other, so that this will help to eliminate misunderstandings. And we believe that this kind of presentations are crucial.
Okay, so the banquet is today. And it is at 6:30 p.m. at the Camino Real, and you'll be speaking. What can people look forward to today?
Well, I hope first of all that they will be enjoying the hospitality around the table. I think this is one of the few places in El Paso where the diversity of the community has the opportunity to sit down and get to know each other. I also hope that we'll consider how we can change the public discourse in our country. I'm very concerned right now that, for instance, in the presidential campaign, there's the demonizing of immigrants. And not only does that have an impact on the immigration policy discussion, but it has an impact on the way people relate to each other at the workplace or in the schools. And again, we want to talk about being able to distinguish between terrorists who have used Islam from Islam. Islam is not a violent religion. The 1.7 million Muslims around the world predominantly are peace-loving people, and we're going to see if we can talk about that tonight.
Okay, and we do want to let you know about the lecture on Friday out as well, featuring Reverend Dirk Ficka, from noon to 1 at the EPCC Valle Verde campus, 919 Hunter, and it's open to all students and staff there. Thank you so much for joining us, Sabri Agachan. Thank you so much, and Reverend Dirk Ficka. We appreciate it. We'll be right back.